She got his name tattooed across her hip, so I erased her from my life with one move she never saw coming. What kind of wife does that and thinks she'll get away with it? I used to think betrayal would feel loud, like a gunshot, or a siren, or a scream. Turns out it feels like silence, like something rotting under your skin that you can't see yet but can smell a mile away. My name's Aaron, 34 years old, sales rep for a medical equipment company. Good pay, long hours, lots of windshield time and bad coffee. I married Mia 6 years ago. We met at a friend's cookout, started talking over burned hot dogs and a cooler full of cheap beer. She laughed at my bad jokes. I felt for her the way a man falls asleep, slowly, then all at once. By year 2, we had the house with the porch swing. By year 3, a golden retriever named Max. By year 4, matching kayaks we barely used but loved showing off on Instagram. We were solid, normal, happy, I thought. God, I was stupid. It started 2 months before the end. Mia decided she needed a girls' weekend. Nothing weird about that. She did it every year. Spa trips, beach houses, overpriced cocktails with tiny umbrellas. I kissed her goodbye on Friday morning, told her to have fun, joked. Don't drink the whole beach dry. She laughed and said, no promises, tossing her duffel into the back seat. She looked back once, a little too long, before driving away. I didn't know it yet, but that was the last normal day of my life. She came back Sunday afternoon, sunburned and giddy, suitcase trailing sand across the hardwood floors. She threw her arms around me, pressed a sloppy kiss to my cheek, and said, miss you, babe. Max barked. I laughed. She laughed. But then she bent over to pet him and her shirt rode up, just enough for me to catch a glimpse of something on her hip bone. Black ink, fresh lines, still shiny from ointment. I frowned. New tattoo? She stood up too fast, tugging her shirt down. Smiled too wide. Yeah! The girls dared me. Inside joke, she said, waving it off like a gnat. I tried to laugh with her, tried to shrug it off. But something in her voice didn't match her smile. A hitch, a crack, a stutter step. I told myself to let it go, that I was being paranoid. Later that night she passed out cold after 2 glasses of cheap Pinot. I sat in the dark living room, TV humming white noise, heart hammering against my ribs. I couldn't stop thinking about that tattoo. It didn't look like a symbol. It looked like a word. A name. My stomach twisted. My palms itched. Some instinct older than reason clawed up my spine. Max laid his head on my knee, whining softly. I looked down the hall toward the bedroom. I told myself one peek. Just one. I moved like a ghost. Her phone was on the nightstand, screen glowing softly. No password. She trusted me. Or maybe she just got lazy. I sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to wake her, and opened her messages. First few were normal. Group chat with her friends. Spa selfies. Drunken memes. Then I saw it. A thread labeled J. I opened it. My hands went cold. There, in black and white, plain as the ink on her skin. J. It looks so good on you. Can't believe you did it. Mia. Had to. You're a part of me now. Forever. I scrolled. Photos. Selfies. His hand on her hip, right where the tattoo was. His name. J. Not hidden. Not coded. Tattooed into her skin while I sat home walking Max and folding her laundry. I put the phone down before I shattered it against the wall. She shifted in her sleep, murmured my name, reached out blindly. I recoiled like she'd burned me. I sat in the living room until sunrise, Max curled against my side, both of us trembling in different ways. I wasn't ready to face her yet. I needed to think. I needed to plan. Because if she thought a tattoo could bond her to another man without consequences, she had no idea what I was about to do. I didn't leave her that morning. I didn't scream. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't even slam a door. I made pancakes. I poured her coffee. I kissed her forehead when she stumbled into the kitchen yawning and said, "Smells amazing, babe." Because if Mia was going to betray me so easily, so casually, she deserved to think she got away with it, for a little while longer. Every smile I gave her felt like biting into broken glass. Every time she touched me, it took everything I had not to recoil. She thought we were fine. She thought I was blind. And that's what made it perfect. I started planning while she was sitting on the couch, laughing at some dumb reality show. She had no idea I was memorizing her routines, her habits, the way she left her phone face down but never too far away. 2 days after I found the texts, she went back to work. I worked from home. That day, first move, get her phone back up. Mia was sloppy. She had iCloud autosync turned on. All I had to do was reset an old iPad she never used, log into her account, and boom, every message, every photo, every dirty little secret, right there in my hands. It was worse than I thought. She and Jay had been hooking up for months. Not just some stupid fling. Not just drunken mistakes. Weekend getaways, secret dinners, hotel rooms paid for in cash, love notes and bad poetry, screenshots of flights she never told me about. He called her my angel. She called him my escape. Escape from what? From me? The man who worked 60 hours a week so she could have yoga classes and sushi nights with her friends. I clenched the tablet so hard my knuckles cracked. Max came over and whined again, sensing the rage leaking out of me. I scratched his ears. Not yet, buddy, I whispered. Not yet, because rage was messy. Rage burned fast and left ashes. I wanted something cleaner, sharper. I wanted to erase her the way she thought she had erased me. That Friday night she said she was going out for a late dinner with a girlfriend. Another lie. I knew exactly where she was going. Jay's downtown loft. I smiled and kissed her goodbye. Told her to have fun. She beamed at me, stupid and beautiful, thinking I was the fool. The second she pulled out of the driveway, I went to work. I packed a duffel with everything I couldn't replace: passport, birth certificate, high school championship ring. I grabbed Max's leash, tossed his favorite toy into the car, started the engine, and drove. Not away from her. Not yet. I drove to a lawyer's office across town, a guy my brother recommended. Shark and human skin. First consultation was free. He listened while I laid it all out. The texts, the tattoo, the affair. He didn't flinch, didn't judge, just nodded and said, "We can work with this." Alienation of affection. It was rare these days, but in our state, it was still on the books. If I could prove Jay knowingly interfered with my marriage, I could sue him personally. It wouldn't just ruin Mia's fairy tale. It would blow a crater in it. I shook his hand, heart pounding with something close to joy for the first time in weeks. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to delete her. When I got home that night, Mia was already asleep. I sat in the dark and stared at her. She was snoring softly, mouth open, hand curled around her pillow like someone clinging to a fading dream. I used to love that. Now it made my skin crawl. I looked at her and didn't see the woman I married. I saw a stranger wearing her skin. And soon, she wouldn't even have that much left. If you think betrayal feels like rage, you're wrong. It feels like rot. A slow, sticky sickness that spreads under your skin until you don't even recognize your own hands anymore. The next morning, Mia floated around the house like nothing was wrong. She made coffee, hummed some pop song off-key, threw on yoga pants and a hoodie like she hadn't just spent the night pressed up against another man's skin. When she kissed me goodbye, I smiled. Because that's the thing about lying liars, they think smiles mean ignorance. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger. She thought the game was already won. I let her think it. And then I started gathering matches. It didn't take long for the pressure to start. 3 days after I met with the lawyer, I got a text from her best friend, Lexi. Lexi. "Hey, can we talk? Mia's been really down lately. She's scared she's losing you." Down lately? Scared? I nearly laughed out loud. I ignored it. 2 days later, Mia's mom called. I didn't pick up, so she left a voicemail. Her voice was soft, coaxing, like she was talking to a scared animal. "Aaron, sweetheart, Mia's heartbroken. She knows she messed up. Please, don't throw everything away over one mistake." One mistake. One mistake tattooed across her damn body like a billboard. I deleted the message without listening to the rest, but it kept coming. Texts, calls, DMs from friends who never gave a damn about me before, now suddenly popping up saying, "Forgive her." Everyone slips. Everyone slips? Is that what we called it now? Slipping into another man's bed? Slipping a stranger's name into your flesh forever? The sickest part? They meant it. In their eyes, I was the bad guy. Because I wasn't working through it. Because I wasn't fighting for my marriage. Because I wasn't willing to roll over and pretend her betrayal was just a bad dream we could wake up from together. And Mia? She played the part perfectly. Wide, teary eyes. Soft, broken voice. Apologies dripping from her lips like honey. She made sure to cry loud enough on phone calls for her friends to hear. Made sure to send late night "I miss you" Texts that she knew would get screenshotted and passed around like currency. It was a campaign, an image rehab project, and she thought she was winning. But here's the thing about being underestimated. It makes revenge taste that much sweeter. One night, right after another one of her crocodile tear performances, I decided to dig deeper. I didn't just want to ruin the affair. I wanted to tear down the whole rotten tree and salt the earth it grew from. So I pulled up her iCloud again, searched deeper. Old emails, archived chats, deleted photos she thought were gone. And that's when I found it. An email chain from months ago. Subject line: trip details, from her. Girls' trip. But the sender wasn't one of her girlfriends. It was Jay. Attached were hotel bookings, dinner reservations, spa appointments, romantic packages, couples massages, rose petals on the bed. And the date stamps? They matched the weekend she swore she was getting drunk with the girls in Cabo. Every single detail, every lie she fed me, every cover story, all laid out in neat little receipts. And that wasn't even the worst part. At the bottom of the last email, Jay had written, "Can't wait to see you again, future Mrs. J. Future Mrs. J." I stared at those words until the letters blurred. She hadn't just cheated. She had planned a whole goddamn future with him, while she was still sleeping in my bed. The rage this time wasn't cold. It was a white-hot detonation behind my ribs. I almost drove to his apartment that night, almost hammered on his door and broke him apart. But I didn't. Because Mia wasn't worth a jail cell. And Jay wasn't worth dirtying my hands. No, I was going to gut her the way she gutted me. Not with fists. Not with screaming. With silence. With precision. With a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. That week, I finalized the paperwork with my lawyer. Filed for divorce. Filed the alienation of affection lawsuit against Jay. Gathered everything I needed. The screenshots. The photos. The emails. The receipts. And then? I planned the reveal. I wasn't going to have some messy, teary breakup behind closed doors. No. Mia wanted an audience for her new life. I'd give her one. And I'd make damn sure they saw the real script, not the sanitized fairy tale she was busy selling to anyone dumb enough to buy it. There's a kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels surgical. Like the moment right before a blade sinks into skin. Precise. Focused. Cold. That's the quiet I lived in for the next 2 weeks. Mia floated through the house like we were newlyweds, giggling at her phone, playing with Max, planning vacations we'd never take. She thought my silence meant forgiveness. It wasn't forgiveness. It was the storm gathering its strength. Every night, while she slept curled around a man she didn't really love anymore, I was stitching together the blueprint for her downfall. Step 1. Gather the players. I invited my parents, her parents, our closest friends, hers and mine, even her boss, who she idolized like a second father. I framed it as a celebration. Our 6-year anniversary dinner, I said. Something special, I said. Please don't tell Mia, it's a surprise, I said. And every one of them smiled and said they'd be there. Even Jay. He didn't know it, of course. Mia thought she was being sneaky, texting him from a burner app she thought I didn't know about. I just cloned it. Watched every giddy message roll in like clockwork. Mia. Meet me at the Ashford. Private room. 7 p.m. sharp. Wear that leather jacket I love. Jay. Damn girl, planning something naughty? Mia. You'll see. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. The night before the big reveal, I barely slept. Laid awake staring at the ceiling, feeling the adrenaline hum under my skin. Max snored at my feet. Mia curled next to me, murmuring my name in her sleep like some twisted punchline. In a few hours the curtain would rise, and the star of the show was going to burn. That afternoon, I rented a projector from a local tech store, set it up in the restaurant's private room, tested the slides one by one, her texts, her photos, the tattoo, half-healed and sickly on her hip, the hotel receipts, the future Mrs. J email, all neatly arranged, with timestamps and receipts. I wasn't just nuking her reputation. I was salt-bombing the earth so nothing could ever grow back. At 6:30 p.m., we pulled into the Ashford parking lot. She was buzzing beside me, cheeks pink, grinning like it was the best day of her life. "Where are we going?" she asked, practically bouncing in her seat. "You'll see," I said, my voice smooth as glass. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. "You're so sweet." I wanted to vomit. Instead, I smiled. The hostess led us down a hall to the private room. Soft lighting, champagne flutes, plates with little folded name cards. Mia's face lit up when she saw the crowd. Her parents, mine, our friends, her boss. Everyone clapped and cheered. She laughed, covering her mouth in fake surprise. "Oh my God, Aaron! You didn't have to!" And then the door opened again. Jay walked in, holding a bouquet of cheap gas station roses, wearing the same leather jacket Mia had begged him to wear. The second their eyes met, the room shifted. The air snapped tight. Conversations froze mid-sentence. Forks clattered onto plates. Mia's face drained of color so fast it was like watching a mask melt off. Jay's cocky grin faltered into something uglier. Confusion, fear. "Aaron," Mia croaked, voice cracking. "I can explain." I stepped forward, calm as the eye of a hurricane. "You don't have to explain anything," I said. I clicked the remote in my hand. The projector whirred to life, and slide by slide, her entire secret life played across the wall for everyone to see. Her parents gasped. My mother whispered, "Oh my God!" like a prayer. Max's leash, which I'd brought for symbolism, not necessity, hung slack in my hand. Mia staggered backward into a chair, hands pressed to her mouth. Jay backed toward the door like a man realizing he walked into a firing squad. Her boss stood up, red-faced, furious. "You're done at the company," he said, voice shaking. "Effective immediately," Mia sobbed. Reached for me. I stepped back. The disgust in the room was a living thing, a thick, choking smog that settled on every surface. "You didn't just cheat," I said, my voice razor-sharp and low. "You didn't just lie. You built a second life. You carved someone else's name into your body while you slept next to me and called it love." She dropped to her knees right there on the floor, clutching at the hem of my jacket like someone begging for scraps. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm sorry, Aaron, please don't." I pulled free, looked around the room. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said. "I wanted Mia to have an audience. She always loved playing the main character." Then I walked out, never looked back. Outside, the night air hit me like a slap. Sharp, cold, electric. I could hear her screaming behind me. I didn't care. Max barked once from the back seat, impatient and waiting. I smiled, real and clean for the first time in months, and got into the car. Started the engine. Pulled away without a single tear shed. Silence hit harder than any scream ever could. That night, after the restaurant, I didn't hear from Mia. No calls, no texts, no desperate knocks on my door. Just silence. And God, it was beautiful. I spent the night at a cheap motel on the edge of town. Not because I had to, the house was still technically mine, but because I couldn't breathe inside those walls anymore. I needed somewhere sterile. Somewhere the air wasn't soaked with the smell of her lies. Max curled up on the stiff motel bed beside me, his head heavy on my thigh. I sat there in the dim yellow light, drinking burnt coffee from a paper cup, staring at the cracked ceiling, and waiting for the guilt to hit me. It didn't. Not even a flicker. By morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls, voicemails, texts, mostly from Mia. "Mia. I'm sorry. Please call me. Mia. You humiliated me. How could you do that to me? Mia. You were supposed to love me no matter what." The audacity. Like I had driven her into another man's arms. Like my job was to soak up her betrayal and still come home smiling. Delete. 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 Her mother texted too. "Mom. Mia's devastated. She made a mistake. You didn't have to destroy her." Destroy her? She burned down the house and cried because she got caught in the smoke. I didn't reply. I packed up my duffel, whistled for Max, and checked out of the motel. It was time to move on. The next few days blurred together. Lawyer meetings, paperwork, asset division. I filed the official divorce papers before the restaurant stunt. Now it was just a matter of process. Mia tried to stall, tried to claim emotional distress, tried to argue she deserved alimony. But my lawyer had already weaponized every receipt I collected. The tattoo photos, the love notes, the hotel bills, the burner texts. She didn't have a leg to stand on. In the end, she walked away with her car, half the furniture, and a credit card bill that would haunt her for years. She wanted to tattoo another man's name on her body? Fine. She could pay for it with the ashes of the life she torched. The day I moved out of the house was the first day I felt real air fill my lungs again. I took only what mattered: clothes, Max's toys, A few photos that didn't have her face burned into them. The rest? I left. I left the furniture we picked out together. The wedding album gathering dust on the shelf. The dishes we never used. Let her sit in the ruins. Let her taste the silence she carved between us. A week later, I heard through a mutual friend that Jay had ghosted her. No surprise there. The second things got messy, the second it wasn't a forbidden fantasy anymore, he bolted. Left her holding the wreckage alone. She tried to spin it. Told friends it was mutual. Said she needed time to heal. Claimed she was learning to love herself. The same friends who once begged me to forgive her now saw the truth. Slowly, one by one, they drifted away from her orbit. Nobody wanted to be close to a black hole. Mia sent one final letter, handwritten, desperate, blaming, flip-flopping between, "I'll never forgive myself," and, "You were cold to me first." I didn't open it, didn't even read the first line. I dropped it straight into the trash. Because the past doesn't deserve to take up space in your hands anymore once you've cut it out of your heart. 6 weeks after the restaurant, I signed the final divorce papers. I watched my hand move across the page, steady and sure, as if it belonged to someone else, and when the pen lifted, it was done. No fireworks, no grand moment. Just a clean break, like cutting a noose from around my own neck. Walking out of the courthouse, Max trotting happily beside me, the sun hit my face. It was brighter than I remembered, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I smiled without it hurting. I wasn't hers anymore. I was mine. You'd think after the divorce was final, it would be over. You'd think wrong. Mia didn't know how to lose quietly. She only knew how to rewrite the story until she came out looking like the victim. It started small. Little comments on mutual friends' posts. Cryptic Instagram captions. Healing from people who never loved you the way you deserved. Sometimes the ones you trust most cut the deepest. Vague enough to sound poetic. Pointed enough to make sure everyone knew who she meant. Friends I hadn't heard from in months started texting. "Hey man, Mia's been posting some intense stuff. You okay?" Yeah, I was fine. She wasn't. And it was only going to get worse. Then came the blog post. Mia had always fancied herself a writer. She ran a little personal blog, nothing huge, but enough followers to build an echo chamber. A week after the divorce papers were filed, she published an essay. Title: "The Man Who Erased Me." I read it. Every damn word. She painted herself as a battered, neglected wife. A woman who found fleeting comfort in a friendship that crossed boundaries. Not once did she mention the burner phone, the love notes, the hotel rooms. No, in Mia's version, I was the villain. Cold, distant, emotionally abusive. Her betrayal? A tragic act of survival. And the worst part? People bought it. Her little army of followers flooded the comments with sympathy. "You're so brave for sharing this. Men never understand emotional abuse. You deserve happiness." Each comment was another slap across the face. Another spit on the grave of what little good remained between us. For about 2 days I wrestled with it. Should I let it go? Should I just walk away and let her choke on her own lies? Part of me wanted to. But a bigger part, the part she couldn't destroy, refused to let her walk away clean. Because silence lets liars build monuments, and I wasn't about to let her carve my name into hers. So I did what she never expected. I told the truth, not in rage. I wrote my own post. Medium. Public. No aliases. No hiding. Title: "The Woman Who Tattooed Over Our Marriage." I laid it all out. Screenshots, dates, facts, no insults, no dramatics. Just the cold, ugly truth she tried to bury under hashtags and sympathy. I ended it with one line. "This isn't revenge. This is reclamation. You don't get to rewrite history just because you're ashamed of the part you played." Then I posted it, and waited. The explosion was immediate. Thousands of views within hours. Comments pouring in. Some people called me petty. Some said airing dirty laundry was tacky. I didn't care. Because for every critic, there were 5 people saying what needed to be said. If you don't want your actions exposed, don't do things you're ashamed of. Gaslighting isn't healing. It's just lying with better PR. Finally, a man telling his side without screaming or blaming. Just facts. Her little blog? Dead. She took it offline within 48 hours. Her Instagram? Locked down. Comments turned off. Mutual friends? Ghosted her. Even the ones who defended her early on went quiet when faced with receipts they couldn't ignore. The final nail? Her employer. A non-profit she just started working at. Someone, not me, I swear, forwarded them the public posts. They didn't like the optics. Didn't like that their director of community engagement had a public cheating scandal splattered across the internet. She was fired within a week. Mia sent one final message. Short. Ugly. I hope ruining my life made you feel like a man. I didn't reply. Because I didn't ruin her life. She did. I just turned on the lights so everyone else could see the mess she made. A month later, a friend told me she'd moved back in with her parents. No job. No boyfriend. And me? I was free. Really, truly free. Spiritually. Because there's a kind of peace that only comes when you stop trying to save someone hellbent on drowning. When you realize it's not your job to pull them out of the water they chose to sink into. It's your job to swim away. It's funny. You spend months, years even, thinking you'll feel something when the final thread snaps. Anger, satisfaction, victory. But when it finally happens, it's just quiet. Not empty. Not bitter. Just clean. It happened 6 months after the Medium post. Life had settled into something steady by then. New apartment. New routines. I'd started running again, early morning miles before the world woke up. Max at my side, tongue lolling, ears flapping like a damn cartoon. I was rebuilding. Not chasing happiness. Building it. Brick by goddamn brick. One Saturday afternoon, I met some coworkers downtown for drinks. Nothing wild. Just beers and bad nachos, a little laughter. We sat outside on the patio, warm breeze, late sun sinking into gold. I was halfway through telling a story about Max stealing a whole rotisserie chicken off my counter when I saw her, Mia, across the street, sitting alone on a bench, hugging a coffee cup like it owed her something. Her hair was longer, darker, like she dyed it to erase something. Her clothes hung off her frame in a way that looked accidental, not stylish. She looked smaller, sadder, like a ghost trapped in a world that had already moved on without her. Our eyes met. Just for a second. She froze. I didn't. I just turned back to my table, laughed at something someone said, and let the moment pass. No anger. Just nothing. The past stayed where it belonged, behind me. Later that night, I thought about it for a moment, the look in her eyes. Not even apology. Just emptiness. And it hit me. She wasn't mourning me. She was mourning the version of herself she lost when the lies caught up. The golden girl. When that mask cracked, there was nothing underneath but dust. And that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. I built something better. Not louder. Just real. Real silence that didn't ache like missing teeth. I stopped waiting for someone else to hand me closure like a pity prize. I gave it to myself. People warned me for months. You'll never trust again. You'll always carry that betrayal. You'll never feel whole. They were wrong. Because betrayal doesn't define you. It refines you. Cuts away the rot. Leaves the clean edges sharp and strong. Leaves only what's worth saving. A year to the day after I left her standing in that restaurant surrounded by the wreckage of her own making, I threw a small party. Just a few friends. Some music. Max, of course, stealing food off plates when no one was looking. At one point, I stepped outside alone. Stood on the porch, drink in hand, watching the night settle over the neighborhood. Cool air. Soft sounds of laughter drifting from inside. No wondering where she was or who she was texting. Just peace. Pure, quiet, earned peace. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because it already had. It crushed the life I thought I wanted. And cleared the way for the one I built with my own 2 hands. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you take. Something you claim. Something you carve out of the wreckage, and wear like armor. And every time I catch a glimpse of my reflection now, clear-eyed, steady, unbroken, I remember. She got his name tattooed on her. But I got something better. I got my name back, and I'll never let anyone erase it again.